trains to become the strongest spirit warrior.
I never did.
Liam was a pathetic loser who lived in a world of magic with ghosts and deadly spirits alongside his father Kale, who was the protector and leader of the area, and his mother who just gave birth to his younger brother Yan because his father's pull-out game is weak. Just like him, even his brother is completely useless. Everyone thought that he was a pathetic orphan whose parents went to get milk and never came back. Everyone thinks he is a weak, pathetic loser, but he's actually the most powerful man in the universe. Wang Ling is a high school student who possesses an extraordinary amount of magical energy.
Yo, what's good, chat?
From others. Even as a child, his power was so immense that he fearlessly confronted and defeated a monstrous giant frog. He was an ugly, pathetic loser who turns out to be the strongest hero after saving the princess from a curse. Lloyd is a young loser from a small village named Kunlun, famous for producing legendary heroes. He dreams of following the footsteps of his grave ancestors, but knows it will only remain a dream because he's so weak that even a rabbit can kill him. After meeting his big brother for the first time in years, he gets hyped for hearing about all his adventures in the city and decides to go there himself to become a soldier. Once he arrives there, he requests a hot witch named Marie to let him stay with her, which she immediately rejects without mercy. Before she can kick him out, he pulls out his balls and places them on the table, and a holographic message from his village chief, Alka, opens up. The sight of the lowly chief immediately gets Marie on her knees, reminding her of her only fan days when she was being mentored by the lowly pimp. Alka asks Marie to take care of Lloyd until he joins the military academy, and Marie has no choice but to accept. The next morning, he cooks breakfast for his new caretaker because the only things he can beat are eggs and his meat. While chatting, he casually flexes all of his different abilities, which he thinks are no big deal, but leave Marie completely shocked. She can't believe how easily he uses ancient runes and gets excited to test his amazing stamina during his stay. Later that day, he steps out to explore the city, where he runs into a young woman who is being harassed by a monster. It attacks her, but she jumps out of the way and rolls onto the ground.
Phone fell
She
in
gets
there.
back up and tries to fight with her sword in hand, but the gigantic insect flaps its wings and creates a strong wind current that sends her flying towards a wall, falling face first into the ground. Lloyd swoops in on time and kicks the monster's head down, which instantly kills it. The sight of him effortlessly picking up the grasshopper and throwing it across town makes more than just Lloyd's heart drop.
Happened again.
While he tends to her small injuries, she nervously introduces herself as Selin while blushing at her Prince Charming. But he doesn't seem interested and politely ends the conversation so he can go back to his wife, Marie. The next morning, Lloyd reports to the town square, just like the other military academy applicants, and sits quietly on the outskirts because all of his competitors look big and scary. However, the one-armed fearless mercenary named Rio sitting next to him senses his strength and gets spooked by him. He tries to raise her up, but a cute blondie tackles Rio down and takes her place. He recognizes her as Celine, the girl he saved from the grasshopper, and asks if she's applying as well. She excitedly nods her head and starts rambling about their future together. Thankfully, the beginning of the combat test is announced and all the contenders are made to line up in front of dummies. The challenge is simply to attack the metal dummy with any weapon of choice. When Lloyd's turn arrives, he steels himself with determination and picks a sword to make his best attempt on the dummy. The army chief Melfin notices his unique aura and decides to keep an eye on him. However, when the test results are revealed later that day, Lloyd discovers that he did not make the cut. This failure makes his self-esteem at an all-time low and struggles to figure out his next step. Just then, he notices a help-wanted sign from the local McDonald's joint, which wants to hire a part-time burger flipper. He decides to go beg for the job because if he can't kill people by sword in the military, he can kill them with diabetes. As soon as he enters the joint, he is attacked by the manager named Chrome, a former royal guard who immediately senses Lloyd's super strength and suspects something is fishy. He entertains Lloyd's request to show his skills in order to instigate more. Lloyd makes a delicious risotto while trauma dumping about his life. As soon as he serves the dish, is absolutely blown away by the flavors in his mouth. Lloyd immediately gets hired, which gives him the courage to show his face to Marie again. Back at the school, Melfin, Rio, and Celine are shocked to find out that Lloyd did not get admission and form a mini detective team. They take a look at his written test answers, but only see random scribbling on his answer sheet. They conclude that he is just an idiot when Melfin's underling named Colin points out that those doodles are actually ancient runes. She explains that ancient runes enables a person to wield magic in ways much more powerful than ordinary wizards. Realizing that it was a complete mistake to reject Lloyd from the academy, Celine and Rio vow to get him in by finding the missing Princess Maria and claiming the prize of money and getting a wish granted. Later that night, Lloyd tells Marie and Alka that he failed the test and that he wants to try again next year. Alka offers to take him home and train him personally, but he insists on staying with his waifu Marie. Alka eventually agrees but declares that she will be staying here and third-wheeling them. As he runs to the kitchen to cook dinner for them, Marie requests Alka to lend her power to the kingdom as it is at the brink of war with the Jew Empire thanks to the masterminds who are controlling every move of the king. However, Alka
Yo,
refuses
what's
because the people
good?
of her village
Thank
only
you for the
involve
like, bro.
themselves in
Thank
external
you.
matters that are of superhuman scale like demon kings. She also threatens to take Lloyd back to Kunlun if Marie ever brings up this issue while staying with her. The next day, Lloyd instantly makes the previously hated Crone restaurant a viral
Really
hit with his
appreciate it.
mouth-watering
Really.
dishes. He bumps into
Yo,
Melvin
I
and
got a
Rio,
second like.
who
Let's
came
go.
to check what Buzz was about and are shocked to see him work there. However, he basically ignores them and goes to throw out the trash when he notices Marie sneaking into a nearby alley. Two soldiers go into the same direction in a hurry, claiming that there is a fight
No,
going
please
on there.
stay. Please stay.
Lloyd immediately decides to follow and sees that Selen is in a duel with a local noble Alan because he is a jerk that hates her. He pulls out his axe and dashes towards her before jumping into the air and slashing down at her. However, seconds before it can hit her, her belt blocks the attack and knocks the axe out of the noble's hands. She proclaims that this is because of Lloyd's powers, and once she notices him in the crowd,
Bro.
runs towards him like a true waifu. The instructors at the academy rush into the scene and demand an explanation for the fight. Celine offers no such explanation and claims that Lloyd has come to fight Alan in her stead. Surprisingly,
My
Melvin
aim
and
is
Colin
terrible,
allow
bro.
this duel, leaving Lloyd no choice but to get his manicured hands dirty. Alan stupidly...
Yo, but my luck is insane.
Just as Lloyd is about to land a devastating punch at the noble's face, a tornado surrounds him and carries him away. As he regains his senses, he sees that Marie is the one carrying him away. They land on a nearby roof away from the action, and Lloyd thanks Marie for saving his life and promises to do anything she asks.
Oh, there's two.
This
There's
causes
two.
Marie to get a bit too excited as she lets her imagination run wild. Crone turns up there and asks Lloyd to return to the cafeteria.
That's one.
Once he leaves, Crone kneels before the witch and offers to help her take down the king's puppeteer. That evening, Melvin works overtime when Colin asks him why he is taking all of this so seriously. He launches into his sob story and tells her about how the enemy Jew army attacked his hometown when it was already very poor and hungry. Since then, he is about to stop as many wars as he can. The next day, Lloyd greets Celine and Rio when they come to visit Marie. He serves them tea when Marie is away, and Celine shamelessly simps over him the entire time, making Rio realize that she shouldn't have believed her claims of being Lloyd's love. Once Marie returns, the girls ask the witch about the princess.
No, it didn't reset.
Nothing about while acting very suspicious.
Hey, yo, how the fuck does he have a
Rio
purple
and
saddle?
Celine grill her. Marie's guilt builds up, and she blurts out that she is the missing princess.
God damn it!
Over Celine's head, who is only interested in knowing if Marie is Lloyd's secret wife. This allows Marie to deny ever admitting she is the
Don't need
princess.
more, you're gay.
But after realizing that their
You're
intent
gay.
is to find her in order to get Lloyd into the military academy, she agrees to reveal who she really is if they tell her every detail of the military academy and the castle's current happenings. Lloyd guesses that she is the kingdom's trying to save the kingdom from ruin, and that he would love to be her Robin, but she harshly rejects him by saying that he is too weak to fight by her side. This breaks his heart and goes off to cry like
Go anymore, you're gay. Doesn't even.
Rio and Celine demand to know why she was so rude to him when he is clearly very strong. She sits them down and explains Lloyd's real backstory and how she...
Disfruta de un aroma ligero que dura sin perfumes intensos ni colorantes. Downy Light, el aroma ligero que dura.
So I can take all these trips because Priceline has all these amazing deals. And that's when I said, deal.
On your right is our infinity.
Hey, yo, the one dude in here. Can you stream snipe me, bro? Next game.
Corporations raising prices 5 times faster than inflation. Bob Casey calls it greedflation, and he's fighting back.
My plan gives the Federal Trade Commission the power to punish corporate price gouging, putting money in your pocket.
My luck
instead.
isn't going so well today.
At Donna's, you can get more than just amazing
They losing her.
There's also lava cakes.
Hey, yo, I want y'all right now. I want y'all next game to stream snipe me, alright?
Even better. When you tough it out, dig deep, fuel up, refuse to give in.
how she is forbidden from involving him in this conflict. She then admits to being Princess Maria and reveals that she has been planning to save the kingdom from entering war by abandoning her name and secretly hunting down the culprit who she believes has taken control of the king by magic. Celine and Rio agree to help
What does that
her in this
mean, bro?
mission. That evening, Crone goes up to the king to request him to take him back as the leader of the king's guard. Melfin, who is standing guard
Be
for
so
the king,
serious.
asks
What
him to
does that
leave
mean?
and assures him that they will reach out if needed. Crone gets annoyed and accuses Melfin of being the culprit and asks him why he is doing this. Melfin almost instantly confesses and reveals that he thinks a weak king who can't control his corrupt subordinates to do good for the common people deserves to be a mere puppet. Just then Revo, Maria, and Selen reveal themselves from their hiding place, and Marie directly confronts him as the princess. The king hears the princess's voice and turns around to sinisterly welcome her back. They immediately realize that he is now under a spell and being controlled by a third party. He suddenly throws Melfin against a wall and reveals that he caused the attack on Melfin's village to make people like him hate the king and support a war. Now that he has successfully possessed the king with the help of Melfin, he simply turns him into a mindless monster to fight the intruders. As Maria tries to follow him, Melfin rolls loudly and stops her in her tracks. However, Crone steps forward and asks her to go after the king and release him while they take care of the monster. However, before she can move, the monster charges at them, but Rio immediately steps in front and holds him off as the princess leaves. The princess walks into a dark throne room where she finds the king sitting on his throne in the dark. She launches her magical tornadoes at him, but his shield deflects them all. She then tries to pierce him with her shards of ice coupled with
I'm gonna
blasts of
shotty.
fire, but none of it affects.
Shotty! Let's
She
go,
then jumps up and
shotty!
magic activated in her palm, but just
I
as
had
she's
to say
about to
that.
hit him, the evil entity uses her father's true voice to stop
It
her
was
in her
so tempted,
tracks.
chat.
She's caught off guard, and he takes the
Real
opportunity
bro,
to
too.
knock her away into the floor.
It is just a
He
game, bro.
picks her up by her hand
I
and
get
threatens to kill her right then, causing Marie to be filled with dread because she doesn't want to die before apologizing to Lloyd. He then
Bitch.
reveals that he is the demon lord of Baden, whose dream is to control the world. Meanwhile,
Thunderbomb!
Lloyd at the festival to cheer him up
I
after
kinda missed, but
the hopes of winning his heart from herself.
whatever.
However, the night is ruined when a herd of giant grasshoppers stampede the area. Lloyd strikes a blast of air into the monster's face and knocks the entire family out of existence. As Alka examines the corpses, Lloyd senses that Maria is in trouble and insists that he go and help despite him thinking he's too weak to do anything. Meanwhile, Lloyd is running to the palace and on the way knocking more monsters out left and right. He runs into Alan, who has been hiding like a coward and is unable to move since he saw the monsters. Lloyd remembers the first time he saw a monster and empathizes with him, so he recites a self-help book quote from his memory, which motives Alan into action. At the same time, Alka has decided to let her crush go and handle the endless waves of monsters that show up at the fair so she can tell
Psych.
the demon lord of Baden is involved. She sits in top of a room in the air and summons giant rocks that she launches at the monsters to bury them into the ground in a second. On the palace balcony, Melfin launches a relentless attack on Crone, but the ex-king's guard leader keeps jumping out of the way. He then takes the opportunity to punch Melfin as soon as he gets one, but he is blocked at the last minute. Melfin knocks him out with an uppercut and throws Crone into the wall. He then dashes to Riho and tries to kick her in the face, but she blocks him with her hands. However, the transformation into a monster has given him immense strength, which he uses to push Riho into another wall and injures her seriously. Selen steps in front of him and asks him to attack her, as her deluded brain believes that this will call Lloyd here since his heroine is being dominated. She suggests that he also put their assets on display so that it motivates Lloyd even more. Melfin is annoyed by her attitude and charges towards her and scratches at her with his claws, but her belt blocks it to everyone's surprise. Eventually, Melfin is drained of all energy from repeatedly failing to land a hit on Celine.
Oh my God.
Knocked out by a whip from her belt. At that moment, Lloyd enters the palace and is glad to see all of them alive. Celine runs into his arms, but
Bro, how did he not die, bro?
to check in on Crone. Just
I
then,
know
Melfin
damn well
turns and
JP
dashes
for your
towards
line,
Lloyd,
bro.
but the guy goes all talk to my hand and knocks the monster to the ground. Lloyd then starts talking about how a soldier
I want you to say cap right now.
the happiness of ordinary people. His words seem to stir Melfin's consciousness, and eventually Lloyd's pep talk gets through to him. And
To be honest though, I ain't even that good.
However, Lloyd seems to misunderstand the
I ain't
situation
even
and
what
says
though.
that Melfin disgraced his honor as a soldier by overdrinking and getting intoxicated during the festival, which is such a dumbass accusation that Melfin willingly becomes a monster again to kick his ass.
Hey yo,
He
all
dashes
of
towards
y'all,
Lloyd and tries
make
to
sure to
punch him in the
subscribe and
face,
like
but
the video
weirdo
right now.
dodges it by bending over backwards. He stands up and headbutts the monster, which sends Melfin flying across the room and causes him to crash into a wall. He loses consciousness, and Lloyd immediately decides to go look for Maria. He doesn't have to go far because Maria breaks through the door with the king right behind her, who's hot on her tail. Lloyd is so stupid that he assumes that the king's weird behavior is because he is also drunk. He enchants his handkerchief with a cleaning spell to wipe the weird goo off the king's face. The king tries to pull up a magical shield, but Lloyd deactivates his magic with a snap of his fingers. He goes on to give the king a good rub, which makes the demon lord run out of the body as soon as he can. As the king falls to the ground, unconscious Maria runs into her savior's arms, which obviously triggers Sullen's insecurities. As the dust settles after the whole incident, Lloyd is happy to see that life is back to normal in the city when suddenly his brother Shoma shows up on the scene. Lloyd runs into the arms of his big brother, who is here to deliver goods for the festival stalls. Just then, they see Alka running towards Lloyd with chocolate bananas, and Lloyd loves bananas so much that he does not notice that Shoma has disappeared on seeing her. Crone gains his former royal guard position back and tells Colin that she shouldn't worry about her crush Melfin because he has simply been sent to the outskirts to do hard
Was it at
work for
land?
punishment. Meanwhile, Lloyd enthusiastically
Dream Gate
gets ready in his
or
uniform
Underworld?
to attend the military academy, which he got admission in thanks to Alan, who asked the higher-ups to let him in out of gratitude for the pep talk, which helped him face his fear of monsters. The students all head to school to start off a new session of adventures and learning. Later that night, Maria and Crone take Lloyd to a nearby village where a legendary sword is stuck in a rock, and the fact that it can only be taken out by someone who is insanely powerful
I'll
is
take that as
being used by the
Dream Gate.
greedy mayor for his get-rich-quick schemes. Lloyd easily pulls the sword out, and after happily ruining the mayor's entire business built around this weapon, they head back to the city. The next day at school, the students start to train for an inter-school magic tournament in hopes to pull their school out of a long-ass losing streak. Colin takes the students out onto the field where they are asked to practice their magic on anti-magic dummies. First up is Selma,
Bro,
who shoots
like-
a ball of flame at the dummy, followed by Rio, who does the same. This manages to cause a
I'm warming up, bro.
turn on the
Fuck
dummy,
that, bro.
which leaves the class impressed. However, Lloyd, who was called up next,
I gotta
shoots a
warm up,
gigantic
bro.
fire
I
blast
can't
at
play
the
this
dummy
game if I'm
and
not warmed
manages to
up.
shatter it
I
into
really
pieces.
can't.
He is immediately blacklisted by Colin, as she is sure that he will end up killing someone in the tournament. Meanwhile, back home, mercenary sisters Philo and Mena show up as Maria is chilling and tell her that they are looking for a strange girl in a photo. Suddenly, Philo senses an overwhelming presence near the door and immediately launches a kick just as the door opens, causing Lloyd, who is trying to enter, to be greeted with kicks on the head and in the back. The fact that the strong kicks did not affect him at all causes Philo to spiral into an existential crisis. Given the low EQ that the boy has, he just ignores her and notices that Mina is holding a photo of Rio. Just as he is about to spill information without thinking, Philo comes up to him and asks him to make her his slave. Maria interrupts and throws the sisters out into the streets where they belong. The next morning, as tournament practice is underway at the school, the headmaster of the biggest rival school, Roll, shows up. She simply walks up to Riho and threatens her to come home as she wants people that she cares about to stay alive before she walks away. This leaves Riho depressed for a few days, which makes Lloyd ask her out on a date, as he believes that his company can make any woman happy. He takes her to a cafe, and after insisting her to talk for a while, she launches into the story of her life. She tells him that she grew up in an orphanage where she met Roll. She had a natural gift for magic and started teaching Rio, but because of her missing left arm, she could not do anything. One day, Roll came home with a prosthetic arm made of the strongest element, giving Rio the hope that she could finally be of help at orphanage. However, she soon found out that the real reason her sister gave her the arm was to make her pull out the holy sword, which would inevitably end with her losing her own life. After such a betrayal, she ran away from the orphanage and has stayed on the run despite all the false warrants Roll creates against her from crimes she didn't commit. The story moves Lloyd, and he holds onto her hand and promises to protect her at all costs. After this hot cup of gossip, Selen, who was hiding nearby to keep an eye on Lloyd, reveals herself and promises on everyone's behalf that together they will fight to protect Riho.
Hey, with Priceline VIP Family, you can unlock deals 5 times faster. You don't even have to be an actual family.
Oh, I'd be the dad.
I'm the dad. Hey, physically, it's clear that I'm the dad.
Okay, so which dad is paying?
You're the dad.
For the last 30 years, Pittsburgh has been our home. It's where we live.
A few days later, the first practice demonstration of the tournament is about to start when suddenly Mycona, the head of the second-year class, jumps down onto the ground from her hiding place on the rooftop of the school building. She boldly proclaims that she will be the one to participate in the demonstration, and not Lloyd, which Colin allows. Once the match begins, she charges up her attack and jumps up high before landing a fireball punch on her opponent, Philo. Philo just then casts a spell and sends a powerful water blast that throws Mycona into a wall. Lloyd walks up to her to help her, but she just swats him away angrily. She goes to Maria's to get her wounds fixed, where they end up chatting over a cup of coffee. Just then, Lloyd enters the house, which causes Maria's focus to completely shift to the boy, and Mycona simply walks out into the rain with a broken heart and rushes back home. The next day, the inter-school tournament between Lloyd's school, Azami Military Academy, and the rival school, Rokuju, begins. Chrome proudly announces that the prize for the winning school is a generous fortune and the Holy Sword. After a bit of trash talk, the tournament begins with the first match between Selen and Philo. Philo shoots a lightning blast at Selen. The Belt Princess waits for her belt to come up and defend her against the attack, but the belt seems to have become unresponsive. Just at the last moment, she jumps out of the way of the blast and falls face first onto the ground. She is not given even breathing time as Philo starts shooting fireballs at her immediately. As she keeps trying to get the belt to start defending her against the attacks, Philo summons more lightning strikes from the sky and chases Selen around the entire field. Philo decides to end a match by summoning an overpowered lightning bolt from the sky, and just as it is about to hit Selen, the belt finally powers up and shields her against the impact. Selen gets up to face her with renewed confidence and shields all the lightning attacks that Philo shoots at her. Once Philo gives up her attempts, Selen ties her up with the belt and lifts her up to finish her, but just then is disqualified from the tournament. The referee claims that using the belt is a form of physical attacks which are not allowed in the tournament. The next match is between Mena and Lloyd, which begins with Mena shooting a water ball at him which wraps itself around his face. However, 10 minutes pass without him suffocating as she had planned, so she gives up. She then summons a giant pillar of water and fog to surround and isolate Lloyd, but somehow he is able to see through it and figure out her exact location.
I can't hit a quad at
He
it.
immediately shoots a powerful blast of air at her, which causes her spellcasting to fail, and the explosion throws her against the wall, which causes her to lose the fight. Raul and Rio, who are up next, start with blasting fire at each other.
There you go.
Their attacks meet in the middle, and Raul plans to defeat Rio by causing her to run out of magic. Rio
I need to look
eventually
right
grows
in
weaker, and
that.
Raul's magic manages to hit her, but she avoids serious injury by jumping out of the way just in time. Raul then dashes to her and takes off her metal arm that amplifies her magical abilities and throws it away. However, Rio takes advantage of her closeness and punches her in the face, followed by a mini explosion in her wrist, which throws Raul onto the ground. As Raul gets up, she notices that Rio's arm also got damaged in the blast and sees a magical stone fall out of it, which must have been the true source of her power. She is surprised that she could go as far as planting it in her arm. Rio's arm heals completely because of the healing magic that she has been learning from Colin all this while. Looking at her power, Raul faints and Rio is declared as the winner. Raul dreams of her past and how she had to struggle to reach the rank of headmaster in her school and how she will need the Holy Sword to climb higher. Just then, she wakes up and notices that she is in an infirmary. Her informant is in the room too, who tells her that he has located the Holy Sword and tells her that it is currently with Lloyd and the person responsible for it is a weird witch. Raul decides to win the witch over to her side
I'm gonna
and sends a
plot it
letter
up.
to her, with Philo, who immediately
Okay.
realizes who the witch is. Once she is in the city, Philo
What did it?
sneaks into Maria's
Yes,
home.
sir.
She kidnaps the witch and leaves a note behind for Lloyd asking him to hand over the Holy
Ah,
Sword
yes,
in
sir.
exchange for her. Just then, Alan shows up at the door to hang out, and Lloyd immediately heads out with him after telling him what had happened. They run towards the meeting area where they notice Philo standing like a creep. Without wasting any time, Philo dashes towards Lloyd and punches him as hard as she can, but he easily blocks her as expected. She pulls back and runs at him with Godspeed before jumping in the air and landing a spinning kick at him. He dodges it, but she throws another one in his face. He blocks it with his wrist, but is pushed away due to the impact. Hitch annoys him enough that he agrees to a duel. He asks Alan to hold onto the sword as he pulls up a box and asks her to an arm wrestling match. Their strength causes the surrounding place to get insanely windy and causes Alan to lose balance. He gets up and runs into an alley to avoid the impact of the wind, but as soon as he enters the alley, he notices a fireball coming his way,
Wow.
avoiding it, and notices Roll's informant standing there ready to shoot another one at him. He asks Alan to hand over the sword, and when he refuses, starts shooting mini fireballs continuously at him. He starts to run away to dodge the attack, but just then the informant's face gets stuck in a water ball that came out of nowhere. As he falls to the ground, Mena steps out and declares that she's here to get in the way of Roll, since she heard her calling Philo a dumbass. As a woke feminist who cannot stand her sister being treated as a tool. Meanwhile, the arm wrestling is getting nowhere and the force breaks the box beneath them. They jump into the air to continue the match, but eventually Philo uses her force to push Lloyd onto the ground. Just as he starts to fall, Lloyd summons his powerful wind magic, which pushes the both of them onto the ground, and as the dust settles, he notices that Philo has been defeated in the arm wrestling match. Philo immediately gets rizzed by his immense power and asks him to marry her right then and there. He asks her to cut the bullshit and tell him where Maria is. She immediately folds and tells him that she never kidnapped the witch. Maria's got too fed up with Alka showing up repeatedly at her place without warning that she went to the store. Roll is watching all of this from her window, and out of annoyance at how useless her comrades are, starts kicking the crystal that Philo brought from Maria's house. This causes Alka to appear, and because she cannot see Lloyd anywhere around her, she gets pissed off and shoots a hole in the wall with her fire magic. Roll falls into the river nearby due to the explosion, and Alan rushes to save her despite the others telling him that it is not necessary. Roll wakes up in Izami School's infirmary to see Rio walking out of the room after leaving behind fruits for her to eat when she wakes up. The headmaster stops her just as she is about to step out, but Rio walks out without paying any attention to her. The next day is the last day of school before summer break. As Lloyd is packing his bag, Rio walks up to him and asks him out to join her for the horse races. Before he can answer, though, suddenly a depressed Selin shows up. Her family has called her back for the summer break, and thus she will not be able to enjoy hot spring dates with Lloyd as she had initially planned. She wonders what she can do to avoid the situation and suddenly plans to set her house on fire and come back. Just then, Alan shows up and starts acting like a drama queen to gain the trio's attention. Once they ask him what is up, he tells Lloyd that he cannot be with him during the summer as an ideal apprentice should. He then starts flexing the fact that he has a marriage interview and does not seem to be able to shut up about it. As he snaps back to reality, he notices the girls dragging Lloyd out of the room out of boredom. Lloyd reaches home to find Maria and Alka fighting each other. As usual, due to his amazing room reading skills, he thinks that this is the appropriate time to tell them that he will be going away to do a live and part-time job at a hotel, which pisses them off. They immediately decide to get jobs in the hotel themselves, but Lloyd pulls a Sigma chat move and asks them to not come as having girls around will just prevent him from learning anything. The next day, the hotel owner Koba is waiting outside for Lloyd when he suddenly senses his overwhelming presence. He suddenly gets a jump scare when Lloyd comes up behind him and starts talking, which causes him to fall to the ground.
Corporations raising prices 5 times faster than inflation. Bob Casey calls it greedflation.
He's
And
still
he's
streaming.
fighting back.
My plan gives the Federal Trade Commission the power to punish corporate price gouging, putting money in
Yo.
your pocket instead.
Huh?
You still streaming?
Get energized with
Huh?
membership
You still
at
streaming?
your budget.
Yeah.
Join Planet
Yeah.
Fitness today. Deal ends Friday, April 12th.
Imagine a home that's safer and smarter. Get Vivint.
He curses Chrome for not warning him about the immense power that this dude has, but decides that life must go on. Lloyd is given a tour of the hotel when he is surprised to see such a huge ass building. The hotel owner then reveals that something very strange has been happening in the hotel lately where people are randomly found in a comatose state. While there have been no deaths, it's obviously very disturbing, which led him to contact the king through Chrome. Lloyd assures him that he will help him get rid of this curse, and Koba takes Lloyd to introduce him to his senior manager, Kikyu. As soon as Koba leaves, she hands him a mop and asks him to start cleaning and launches into a lecture about manners. However, Lloyd gets bored and uses his super fast speed to clean the entire swimming pool area in a minute while treating her as a white noise machine. Before Kikyu can react, Koba takes Lloyd away to the next task. He hands him a neatly folded hotel uniform and in a very serious tone tells him that a Braggy noble is arriving early in the morning the next day. He tells him that he is to help make sure the noble's stay goes smoothly. Lloyd just takes this task up with full determination as the seriousness of the task sinks in. The next morning, as Lord 309 is welcomed into the hotel by the owner, Lloyd lays out a royal breakfast for the noble. The noble sips wine while he observes the trees outside and asks Lloyd what he thinks of them. Instead of giving a basic answer like a normal person, the dude launches into a full speech about how they are a complete waste of space, just like himself. However, the weird noble finds this topic of discussion interesting, and they soon strike up a conversation. Koba is watching all of this and is surprised that the grumpy man is capable of liking someone as the noble goes on praising Lloyd for his knowledge. That night, Kikyu sneaks into the noble's room to give him intel on the latest happenings around the hotel. 309 is sure that illegal trends are being cultivated in the forest by the owner who is using his experience as a former soldier to hide evidence. She then asks him the reason for his early arrival, and he tells her that he got amazing intel. An annoying local lord is trying to arrange his son's marriage, and 309 has heard that the lord has been buying trinks recently and making a shitload of money. He wants to use the arranged marriage as bait to get information, and even though using his son hurts him, he needs evidence. Moreover, a tree sapling called Demon Lord's seedling was stolen from the research lab, and he has heard rumors that a traveling merchant
Chad, time to hit a triple
the
edit.
sapling is parasitic and may be the
With
cause
this type
behind
of speed.
comatose customers. He adds that it is known to amplify the
I wanna
host's
try to do a
physical
vlog.
strengths, which immediately reminds the girl of Lloyd.
Nope, that is not
She
happening.
tells him about the boy, and as soon as he
I
hears the
can't
story,
place
he
it.
hands her a herbal antidote to the parasite and asks
I
her
could
to
definitely do an
take his
edit,
food.
a double
It will
edit
expel
though.
the parasite from his body. and
Why am
bring
I
him
getting so
back
much
to normal.
XP?
The next evening, she finds him in the kitchen and brings him tea with the medicine mixed in. When he asks her why she is working so late, she tells him that she is on the lookout about the coma breakout. As they make small talk, she learns that he is a soldier in training and assumes that he was a named boy tricked into becoming a host. She hands him the tea, and just as he is about to take a Copa barges into the room, scaring the hell out of Kiku. He asks Lloyd to get some rest and dismisses him from his duties for the day. Just as he leaves, he scolds Kiki for sipping tea in the middle of her duty hours, but before she can say anything, he grabs onto the cup and gulps the tea down. However, he immediately spits it out because of the weird taste, and Kiku takes advantage of the distraction to jump out the window. Koba's suspicions start to rise after seeing her jump so
Alright,
confidently
chat.
from
I'm
such a height.
in the live
He
right
vows to
now.
get to the bottom of the mystery as he
See y'all
realizes that the
tomorrow
incidents became more frequent even
at
since he hired
exactly
Kiku.
8:30
A few years
p.m.
later, Rio checks into the
So,
hotel
see
to
ya.
relax and enjoy her vacation.